Okay, so we are live. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ekta. I am edupreneur, entrepreneur, and founder of Unique Teaching Methodology. At Unique Teaching Methodology, we believe in learning and growing together. Today, we have with us Miss Marion Hopfgartner, straight from Austria. She is an educationalist, international speaker, founder of Lelek Academy. She is founder of TLI Pedagogics, board member of many preschool, and author of 9 books. She is in educational business since 1997. Over the year of experience, she also started to function as a consultant for many preschool. Over to you, Miss Marion.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ekta, for introducing me that well. I even didn't know what I have all on my plate. So thank you very much. Thank you also for inviting me to your amazing podcast that you're doing all the time, and your recordings on Facebook. I'm following them, and you're really providing a very, very important path to education in this especially challenging times that we are facing, because these times really need us to stick together and to together grow as a community and make each other strong. And so this is also where I'd like to start out today. I'd like to start out with a little bit of serious thoughts towards the today's situation and the coming situation that we might not necessarily connect to early childhood, but which are very closely connected to early childhood, and our entire work of TLI Pedagogics is really turning around that. So what can we see today? We can see that the world changed completely. We can see that things are completely different. So even in countries like here in Austria, Vienna, we are super blessed. We are so grateful, we can say, that we can move around freely. What I hear in India, in many states, is not yet possible. Like Kolkata today has a lockdown day. Delhi is not planning to open preschools till end of December. So children are at home, they're stuck, shops are opening, closing, all of that. So there is no normal. It's even not the new normal. And what we can see now also, especially through my coaching, I get in touch with many parents, but also as a life consultant, I'm getting in touch with many grown-up people. And what I can realize all over the world, it doesn't matter if it's US, if it's Europe, or if it's India, what I can notice is that there is now a time where we can really see how we as adults understood life skills, how we trained life skills in our childhood. And so now we can see people who get depressed. We can see people who are struggling. We can see people who get violent, children who get violent. We can see grown-ups who get violent. We can see adults who really lose it all, completely out of order, scared to death due to this situation, scared to go outside, all of that. We can see people who can cope very well with the situation. We can see people who grow during this situation. We can see people who just are happy to consolidate themselves and relax a little bit and just have some time for themselves. So there's so many layers of people. And the interesting part is that psychology, child psychology, points us in this situation always back to childhood. And so what it means is that during the first 5 years of life, our psychic makeup is shaped. Our psychic makeup is shaped in its basic foundation. And this basic foundation in which it is shaped, that is what we carry on our entire life. And that is on what we build our entire future of our emotional competence, emotional skills, or life skills, as you call them, our social competence, our social skills, and all of that is really in kind of connected, what we do today, to our childhood. Of course, we grow over the time. Of course, we mature, especially when you're concentrating on personal development, on introspection throughout your growing process. You mature out of certain behaviors. But as psychology says, the basic foundation, the way how our brain was trained in the first 5 years of life, that's still there. And this is exactly where TLI Pedagogics comes in. If you're interested, on our website, TLI-pedagogics.com, I just put up some weeks ago child development, age 1 to 4, and it will come 5 to 6, where I explain the milestones. And where I also explain the emotional and the social milestones, which are most of the time missed out when it comes to early childhood, but also to parenting. Parents are not very aware about it. We are all aware about knowledge and skill training on knowledge-based and on expertise and on faculties, abilities, in communication, but what's going on inside of our human being and the little ones, that's the question, how to deal with that. And this is in TLI Pedagogics one of the main points where we really want to focus also on that. And I just would like to explain a little bit to you how it came to that. As Ekta already said, in 1997, I started my journey on early childhood education after 5 years of studies. So I just completed my studies and I got an offer as a principal of a preschool and a nursery. So there were children starting at the age of 1. And I was trained on working with children age 3 to 15, but not 1 to 3. So when I went into that nursery daycare, where the children actually have been 30, 40, 50 hours a week, from 7 in the morning till 5 in the evening, 7 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, because the European system is very different. Parents work and mothers are working after the first year of life or latest the second year of life. And so when we started to approach the children with our skills that we got in our studies, I realized it's just not working. Nothing of that is working. It just is not what children need. And it's just not how they can be approached. Because from their natural way of being, they are very different than how we approach them with their trained skills. So this is when my journey started, and I rethought what could we do, and then I in general started to rethink education and to think it really in a different way. And this is how TLI Pedagogics came into place. And in the beginning, the interesting part is that TLI means the Lelek idea, and Lelek is the philosophy. So it's 5 individual letters that grow the philosophy behind everything we do. Each letter symbolizes a pillar. It is a meaning on which the TLI guide grows. Pedagogy, the word pedagogy, pedagogics we use in our name, but pedagogy would be the name. That means something very interesting. When you go back to the Greek, to the ancient Greek, pedagogy means guide, mentor. It does not mean teacher. So in the very early times, the pedagogy person was that person who guided the child to a certain place, brought them to, took them to certain places, guided them on their way of maturing. And this is exactly what we want to bring back into education, in both into parenting as well as into the early childhood educators' idea of how they approach a child. When we come to that point, it clearly shows that we approach a child in such a way that we recognize the nature, the human nature of the child. On Sunday, I visited a friend of mine. She just got the second baby. He is now 4 months old. And he is a boy, and he has a sister who is now 2 years old. And when you see the two, the son being with a mom, super quiet, so calm. I think I was there for 2.5 hours. He opened his eyes 2 times. He was so peaceful, so in peace, everything just like kind of a state of absolute perfection, you can say, for him. He was so he's satisfied in himself. And then the daughter, 2 years old, and she was super active, super curious about everything. And the mom told me that she was like this from day one. And you, as a mother or father, or as an educator, you know, each child is unique. There is no child who is the same. So how can we approach children in the same way? So in TLI Pedagogics, our focus goes a lot to approaching the children in the viewpoint on how we observe them. And that is a very different way of work. The 5 pillars in the word LELEK, L-E-L-E-K, symbolize the pillars on which the educators build their work. And the pillars symbolize the first letter of a meaning, and that is in German language, because of course my mother tongue is German, so please excuse if I make some English mistakes, because it's not really it's my how to say, I learned it at school, I studied it at school, so gladly I had some experience with a lovely American woman who helped me to improve my English, because my school English was very bad and I almost had to drop out of school because it was so bad. So the 5 pillars are the one idea, the LELEK idea, TLI, that we want to put into the minds of educators and parents. And the first pillar is life-oriented development. It is the naturalistic development. It's about recognizing the child as a human being and not as someone that we have to teach, someone that we have to grow, someone that we have to prepare for life, someone that we have to get ready to be ready in life, someone for whom we plan how their future has to look. Okay, the baby is now 2 years, but everyone knows already this child will go in this preschool, in this primary school, in this secondary school, this high school, this college, this study, this bachelor, this master's. They know it already when the child is 2 years. If we do that, we completely ignore the uniqueness of the child, we ignore the potential of the child, and we are completely ignoring also the soul of the child. It's kind of this inner driving force, this intrinsic power of a child that knows exactly the way how things will turn out and show as strengths as what children are able to do. And yeah, not every child is born to be an engineer. Some might be architects, some might be garden designers, some might be artists. So by recognizing the strengths of the child, that's what's turning out. And that is the second pillar. In the second pillar, we try to understand the inner strengths of each and every child so that we can provide the proper surroundings so that the child really can grow into the full potential, unfold it and grow it and become really strong in regard to how they want to approach life. Because when we are strong, it also means that we are able to cope with life in a different way. The third pillar is the diversity. So there's a lot of diversity in our life. Like, for example, now at the present moment, the world is a little bit stopped, but we have a lot of global connections. So I'm now on Unique Teaching Methodology channel, which is a channel of an Indian woman. I'm sitting here in Europe. I'm Austrian. My entire system grew up here in Austria. My personality grew up under Austrian or Western ideas. And when I go to the Indian culture, for me, that is a wonderful thing. So at the age of 19, for example, I started to travel around the world, but not like most of the people traveling and be with the 5-star hotels. I did all of that too, but mainly I tried to be with people of that country because I wanted to understand how they live. So I went to Egypt and I was with the people and I tried to understand them. I went to Mexico, I was with the people and I tried to understand them. I went to Sri Lanka and I was with the people and I tried to understand them. And wherever I was going, I tried to understand the people because I was curious about how are they thinking, how they are living, how they are. That's diversity. So as of today, as a grown woman, I'm not anymore a typical Austrian, what you would call. I have an understanding of different cultures, how they live, of different things, how they happen. So I have a diverse understanding, and diversity includes also that we give choices to children, many different choices, so that we can also better understand what is their strengths, what is it that, what the skills will be best utilized, what is their personality. Because with each of the different, very different choices, we can better see how the child unfolds the inner power, the inside, intrinsic power, and you can see what is the direction the child might be going. Is it a communicator? Is it a mathematical, logical mind? All of that. So we need the diversity to really go for that and understand it. The fourth pillar, which is the E is the experiences, so the collecting of experiences. Only through collecting experiences we grow. We cannot understand the world by digital media. While all of this is fantastic that we are doing here on the internet platforms, at the end of the day, we can only understand a mango if we bite in the mango and if you smell the mango. And if there's no mango available in Austria, you can explain to me how a mango tastes, but I might not understand completely how it is. And so that is the same true opposite. So whatever we only get explained, what we only see with our physical eyes, but what we cannot experience holistically might not stay with us. Okay, and here I'd like to stay a little bit with you today. Now, I told you in the beginning that how adults approach and cope with this present situation emotionally, that is very closely connected to how the 5 first years of life have been in the emotional development. So let's, for example, say there is a child who has been spoiled a lot during the first years. Yeah, so many years back, 40 years back, 30 years back, have been spoiled. No problems, all problems were removed around the child in the first 5 years. The brain, which is our computer, which is our programming center, which is the place where we store all of the memories and where we also process. So similar to a computer we could say is built after the brain, the function of the brain to a certain degree. The brain realizes I do something and there's something happening that comes towards me. So the brain realizes life is easy. There is no challenge in life. There's nothing I have to do. I just say and it's coming to me. I just do and it will be sorted out. I just play and it will be cleaned up. I say, can't do this, and someone is doing it for me. So what kind of emotional muscles are built in such a child? And what we see now, or even later in life, when the first problems come, we can see that those children sometimes have really difficulties to cope with easy, for other people, easy situations, emotional situations. For example, if they are not accepted in a group of children, if the teacher gives them a bad mark. So they're just not able to cope with it because the brain doesn't understand, never experienced that. Everything was fine. Doesn't mean that we should cause our children problems, but we should allow them to solve problems and we should help them to handle the emotions coming up so that they overcome them and they drain emotional muscles. On the other hand, for example, if we have a child in a childhood environment, let's go again back 20, 30, 40 years, think back at that time. And that child might have experienced very difficult situations. The parents have been fighting a lot. There was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of difficulties. There was not a lot of help. There was no one there who really cared for the child's needs, was left alone a lot. And now we go to this situation now. Doesn't mean that it must be like this because so much happens in life, but it could be that there's a tendency in the child of hopelessness, or uncertainty may cause fear, because now it's an uncertain time, and that normally in a child has caused maybe that idea of fear, that idea of I'm not taken care, something might happen to me, and that might have been carried on to today's life. Okay, let's have a third example. Let's go back into the childhood, and let's say in that childhood there was a person who always gave the answers. Yeah. Oh, you do this like this. You do that like this. You do this like that. Whenever the child asked, how shall I do this? Do it like this. How shall I do it? Do it like this. Like in school, open your book on page 3. Read this and this. Write one line full with A's. Write one line full with B's. So there is no thinking process included. So now we come to today's time and we can see that many people have no clue what they could try. No clue. So it's just like, what shall I do? And they're waiting for someone to tell them. And that are all things that we carry on. As I said already, of course, we are undergoing certain periods of life. We are growing into certain situations. We get strategies and all of that throughout our education, but also then when we live. But our emotions, how can we cope with our emotions? That is the part that normally should be taken care between the age of 2.5 to 6 years. We should learn what kind of emotions are there. When I'm angry, oh, that is anger. And how to cope with the anger, how to handle the anger, what can I do to get out of this emotional state. So this will help children really to grow into emotional balance and strength. So that is very much connected with the pillar number 4 that we focus on a lot. And the fifth pillar is our quality control, we could say. It's the kid-oriented or the child-oriented acting. So we can say that L plus E plus L plus E from the word lelek equals K. So we always see if all of the pillars are there. The pillars are the foundation on what we build our educational idea. And this can be used in parenting, and this can be used in early childhood education. So wherever TLI Pedagogics becomes alive, these 5 pillars are present and kind of a guarding along the path. And in a modern parent or a modern educator is constantly practicing introspection and is questioning oneself. These 5 pillars are the foreground where TLI Pedagogics is applied in my child's life, or in the group with the children around. How are the 5 pillars present? Are they there? Are they not there? And in what strengths are they there? So in case of the first pillar, life-oriented development, could be a question that we can ask ourselves. Did I provide enough space that made it possible for each child to experience, or for my child to experience, real life learning? So most of the time people are shocked when we tell them that in our preschools here in Europe, children start to put the butter with the butter knife on their bread and spread it at the age of 2. Whenever they want. If they want to have it earlier, they get it earlier. Of course, there is a grown-up person there to do it with them together, but together doesn't mean that we are holding the hand of the child. So we are observing very carefully the child, what the child, he or she is able to do and what not. And whatever he or she is not able to do, we come in. Pedagogy, guiding, mentoring. It's not taking over what the child is able to do. It is really about helping at that present time, in that moment where the child is not able to do. Did I provide enough space that made it possible for each child to experience real life learning? Emotional level, 2 children, there's a conflict. Did I avoid the conflict? Did I allow the conflict? Did I help the 2 children to solve the conflict? So real life is conflict. There is not just happiness around. So, and how to solve it, to give them skills in the future also to solve a conflict. That's the question. Another question could be, did I provide enough time for each child to deeply engage in real life experience? Yeah, so that's also a question. Like, for example, now during this time, I see a lot of online learning, but sometimes educators put so much content in 30 minutes. And how could a child engage, especially a young child, takes time, and they think and they want to speak and they want to engage in a very different way. So is there space? Is there time? Same at home. Do I give enough time for my child to really engage long enough? For example, I just did on our YouTube channel, TLI Parenting, I have put up a video on Magna blocks. I don't know if you know them. For 4, 5, 6-year-old children really love it here in Europe. And so the question is, if my child is playing with these blocks, for example, is super concentrated, super engaged, and now it's just, I don't know, I just want to do something different, want the child to leave that place or whatever. What do I do? Do I ask the child to stop in the middle of high concentration? Or do I find a way to just ask the child to go to another place, put the things to another place where they can go on studying? So whenever the child dives into this concentration, into this trying to figure something out, do I constantly interrupt the child or not? So that is a question about real life experience, because that is the question of how the child experiences. When a child is sad, what do I do? Do I try to divert their attention to something different? Like the child is really sad, and I say, "Oh, see, here's a toy. Don't you want to play with the toy?" And then the child just gets so excited about this toy that they forget their emotions. So what is that? What kind of teaching is that for the future? Isn't it that sometimes in our life, when we are grown up, when we feel sad, we just go and work to not think about our emotions? But are they still there? Yes, they are there. And will they come out? Yes, they will come out. And how will we handle them? We don't know, because we didn't learn it. So this is exactly what it takes. It takes us in these first years of life to understand that we are building the foundation. We are building the foundation of an emotional, of a psychic makeup, of an emotional toolbox that children take with them, about social skills, how we interact with people, and about knowledge and wisdom. And that is the foundation. It's not that we can say that the first 5 years are everything. It's built up, which we will use according to modern psychology our entire life. How we cope with situations today, it's a refined way of what our brain was trained in the first 5 years of life. Or how we cannot deal with them is a refined way of how we did not learn to deal with them in our childhood. We have to be aware that it's not that the first 5 years are forgotten and we can correct things along the way. Yes, we can. That's a good thing. But still, it's our foundation. And if you have a basic trust in life in the first 5 years, it will be there. And if you don't have it, we always have to do a lot of work on ourselves and personal development to build it and rebuild it and rebuild it and rebuild it. So coming from a very interesting family setting, I grew up in a joint family system, what is not very common here in Europe. My grandparents had a very harmonious relationship. My parents had a very struggling relationship. So they really had a lot to do with themselves to figure it out, also how to live together and all of that. So they have been very different personalities. I had this amazing chance to observe both ways, how to live relationship, how to solve conflict. So now my toolbox is really big, but I tell you that I'm very grateful also for this toolbox that I got from my grandparents, because it makes me now possible to live a relationship which is harmonious. So parenting and early childhood education is always something that cannot exist alone from each other when a child is in preschool. It should not be anymore like this as we had it in the 20th century, that we say, okay, child is going to preschool, there it will learn knowledge, colors, shapes, all of that. It should become an intelligent human being, and it should learn how to write, how to read, and all of that. And parents are doing the emotional and social skill. That's not anymore how it is. What we have is, we have the 21st century. The 21st century is a century where it comes to team approach. The early childhood education and the parenting is becoming a team, and it teams up for a human being to grow his or her full potential, and that not just on expertise, on knowledge-based expertise, but also on emotional and social development, so that a holistic being develops into an adult, a human being develops into an adult that is a satisfied, happy human being and can cope with situations that are ahead of us. And this is what TLI Pedagogics considers a lot. So I'll just give you some ideas now, which are a part of our first module on the LELEC idea, TLI Pedagogics, which is just almost ready to be put on our website also for an online workshop that we give. And I hope you enjoyed the workshop. And I'm again want to say I'm very grateful for Unique Teaching Methodology and Ekta to invite us here. And she's doing an awesome work. I really love to see what she's doing, and she's such a happy person. And I hope she's going on for a long time. She will be very successful with all of that. So I wish you a very good day. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Marion. As you rightly said, that early years are very important. 0 to 5 or 0 to 6 years of age is critical in kids' life. If we teach them life skills, if we teach them critical thinking, if we make them to understand emotional quotient, if we can improve their emotional quotient, high order thinking skills. These are so important. I give you one example. If we are asking a question to a kid, what is the color of sky? If a kid is saying the sky color is blue, it is not high order thinking. If a kid is asking which time of the day, you are
Right.
asking me, that is called high order thinking skills. So these are very important. Kids should keep asking questions. They should have a curiosity. What is this? How to do it? And we should make them independent. We should allow them to do things by their own under our supervision so that they won't harm themselves when they're cutting something with scissors or they're playing with the blocks. So many things are there, and the way you have put, the teachers are guiders, not like teachers who will give instructions. No, they just are there to see how kids are doing, to make them to understand, to learn. So today we also learned a lot of things from you, and we are very happy at Unique Teaching Methodology that you came and shared your knowledge.
Thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you so much, Marion.